Hello everyone, welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I am broadcasting this IELTS stream from Central Europe, Hungary, the capital city, Budapest. Good to see students joining in. Today we are looking at an IELTS Task 2 Causes and Solutions type question, where the question asks you to write the essay as if you're writing for a professor. So this is a task 2 specifically for the academic IELTS. Hi Naveen, hi Manisha, I'm doing great, thank you. Manisha, I'd like to verbally say it to you now, congratulations on a great IELTS score, good for you, okay? And 7 again in the speaking, that's excellent, good job. All right. Naveen, I believe this was your question. So we're going to look at how to write a high band essay for this type of a question, okay? All right, again, for all our viewers, our materials do come from our websites, aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. Today is a members chat only class. That's usually how we finish off our live streaming week. Hi. Ed Nelson Lima, good to see a new member in the class. That's excellent. All right. So again, members, make sure that you send me an email to adrian@aehelp.com so I can hook you up with the 6 practice exams and the audio on our websites that we use in a lot of these live streams. Okay, so send me an email and just say, I'm a member. Can you please send me those exams, and then I'll hook you up, okay? All right. So today, again, task 2. Tomorrow we're doing a video shoot in HD for task 2, which will be up in about a week's time on our channel. And then no classes. So tomorrow, no live class, and then no live class on Monday, Tuesday. We'll be back on Wednesday with another writing task 2, then writing task 1, and then speaking part 3. All right, so let's look at today's question. So you should spend about 40 minutes on this task. Present a written essay as you would to a professor in a university class. So we're looking at this kind of a question today, specifically causes and solutions. So the specific question reads, many people complain that the cost of housing has become extremely high and unaffordable in many parts of the world. What are the causes of this extreme housing market? What are solutions to make housing affordable for middle-class citizens? Okay, so good, we've read that question, and you should write at least 250 words and spend about 40 minutes on this task. So let's step back to the first interesting part of this question. Present a written essay as you would to a professor in a university class. Now, when you read the task 2 question, you have to quickly realize what type of essay you're writing, or more specifically, I should say, which voice you're writing in, okay? So again, I think most of you members have already learned this from me that have been with us for a while. What type of essay is task 2? And this is the same for general and academic IELTS. So task 2 essay is, and again, there are basically 4 types of essays in English, or not just in English, in other languages as well, 4 categories of writing. Descriptive, where you describe; narrative, where you tell a story, like a novel or a poem. There's also expository, where you explain or expose. That's task 1. And Manisha, you're right, persuasive is the 4th kind of group, which is where you try to persuade or convince the reader or the audience of an idea. So task 2 is a persuasive essay. Okay, and it pretty much always is. I don't think I've ever seen a task 2 IELTS essay that's not persuasive. Within persuasive, there are a lot of different types of persuasive essays. So causes and solutions is one type of persuasive essay. You convince your reader about the causes of a problem, and then you convince your reader about the solutions to that problem. So that's one type of persuasive essay, okay? Where you talk about the benefits and the negatives. That's another type. So there are different types, but the important point is that it's a persuasive essay, okay? So this one is causes and solutions in this example, all right? Now, there's another important part to the structure of your writing, okay? So here we're talking about structure. So when I say it's a persuasive essay, that's the style, okay? Instead of structure, I should say style. Okay, so the style of the essay is persuasive. And there's another aspect that affects the style of the essay, okay? So when you're thinking about writing, and this is true for IELTS, and this is also true in university, you really have to know what is the style. So is it persuasive? Is it expository? Is it narrative? Is it descriptive? That will give you the parameters or the guidelines of how you should approach the writing, okay? So here we know it's task 2, it's persuasive, specifically, it's causes and solutions. All right, now there is another part that we need to know for the style of the essay. And ladies and gentlemen, it is very important that you are clear on this for a high IELTS band score. You can be learning all kinds of different sentences and strategies and examples from your teachers, but that's not often as effective as actually knowing the style that you use. Once you know the style, it's much easier to write a powerful essay that gets you a high band score. So what's the other part? We know the type. Okay, so this is the type of essay. It's persuasive. And we need to know one more aspect before we begin to write. And you'll see why this is important for this question here. Okay, what else do we need to know? And members, you should be helping me out here a little bit. So you should know the type, and that's right, Manisha. You should know the voice, okay? If these are new for some students watching, definitely learn these, okay? So you need to know the type and you need to know the voice. Now, again, there are 3 main groups of author voices, okay? There's first person. First person uses I, me, my, myself. You're talking about you, okay? Then the second person voice uses you, yours, yourself. You're talking to your reader directly. That one's quite rare in university, and definitely don't use it on IELTS, okay? Because you don't talk to your examiner, you don't talk to the marker directly in your essay. And then there's a third person voice, which is the objective voice. It means the true voice that is not biased. So the voice that has no I, no you, it speaks generally to the reader and tells a general truth about information. Now, the voice in your task 2 is usually, as I think Naveen just put up there, it's usually first person, okay? In IELTS, it is usually first person, okay? Why do we know this? We know this from the question, because of the question, okay? So in most cases, the question lets us know. The question says, give explanations from your own knowledge and experience. Okay? That's because in the IELTS, you can't use your telephone or you can't use a computer to search for information. So you have to use what's inside your head. So you have to say, in my opinion, I believe, this is what happened to me, this is what happened to my friend. So it's a first-person voice in most cases. Now, IELTS has started to change a little bit, especially the academic. And at times now, especially for the academic IELTS, they're looking for that third person voice. This is how you know that they're looking for the third person voice. Present a written essay as you would to a professor in a university class. In a university class, so what does that mean? Okay, that's your question. What does this mean? If I see this on IELTS, why are they giving me this kind of information? So what does this actually mean? Well, in a university class, you don't write first-person voice, okay? Because university, academia, searches for the absolute truth, okay? Not your opinion, but what is true in the world based on research and science. So in this case, you use the third-person voice, even if it says, give reasons for your answer, include relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. So even if it says your and your own knowledge, if you see this, present a written essay as you would, then write a third person voice. Okay, Naveen? So that is the important point here. With this type of instruction, write in the third person voice. That will give you a higher band score. And if you don't see you and your in this part here, down here, then definitely write in the third person voice. So give reasons for your answer and include relevant examples. Then if you have this part missing, okay, then this is definitely third person voice. All right, that's an important point here. So if you see this and you see the question end this way, it's a third person voice. Does that make sense? Okay, is that clear, members? Manisha, Naveen, and one of our new members that I haven't seen respond since that initial hi. Does that make sense? Okay, so how do you know? Okay, Manisha, that's good. So how do you know the type of essay? How do you know the voice? Look at the question, okay? From the question, you need to be able to decide the voice and the type, all right? Good, Naveen. So in this case, if the question states to write as if for a professor, use the third person voice. Okay? Now, for all of our viewers, it is really important that you understand this, okay, when you're writing for IELTS and for university. Okay, and I'm talking about people who want to get band scores 7.5, 8, 8.5 and higher, okay, 9 especially, of course, all right? So, third person voice means objective voice cannot use I, you, me, your, and you should avoid using us and we as well, okay? So, you should avoid those words as well. Avoid us and our and we. That's a little bit confusing. You're, again, drawing in your audience. All right. So here, good. We know that now with this essay, it is persuasive. Okay, so this essay is persuasive, third person voice, and cause and effect specifically. Or, sorry, cause and solutions. Okay, don't make a mistake there. All right, so we know that this essay has to be in this way. All right, so now we can start to do some quick planning and write a good response. Step number 1 is always paraphrase the question. So write the question in your own words. That way you know you understand the question completely and clearly, and you get some good vocabulary to use in your essay. So many people complain. Several people individuals argue that the price of homes has become very high and cannot be afforded in many regions around the globe. So what I'm doing here, students, is I'm paraphrasing the sentence, okay? So many people complain that the cost of housing has become extremely high and unaffordable in many parts of the world. So I wrote this sentence in another way, in my own words. Several individuals argue that the price of homes has become very high and cannot be afforded in many regions around the globe, okay? Paraphrasing, practice that at home. It's very important for IELTS, okay? What are the causes of this extreme housing market? What are solutions to make housing affordable for middle-class citizens? So how can homes become attainable for the average citizen? And we can say what has led to this situation. Okay, so there is the paraphrase of the question. Now we can go into critical thinking. So for critical thinking here, Naveen, we can think about what, why, how for the causes and what, why, how for the solutions, okay? Meanwhile, I'll read your paraphrasing. Manisha, if you want to paraphrase, go ahead. So Naveen says, the larger part of society complains that the price inclusive in the design and infrastructure of housing is predominantly high, and consequently, not everyone cannot bear these. Many people cannot bear these inflated prices. Sure, okay, that's good. What are causes? Corresponding methods to solve the issues. Okay, good. Manisha says certain individuals claim that housing expense has soared unexpectedly and hard to afford around the world. Okay, that's good too. So some nice paraphrasing there, members. Now, we want to go to the what, why, how. So, of course, critical thinking here. And you definitely want to take a couple minutes on IELTS to do this, even in point form, before you begin writing, as it will help you to write faster, more clearly, and give a better answer. Okay? All right. So, what has led to... what is high cost of housing? Why is this? Why has this happened? How did this happen? Okay, so here we're thinking about the causes. So try to answer these for me, members. What is high cost of housing? What does that mean? Okay. So when you're thinking of the causes, what does that mean? What does it mean, the high cost of housing? What is the definition for that? Again, it's very important to learn how to change qualitative information into quantitative, like high cost. That's very subjective. We don't know what a person means when they say it's a high cost or an expensive house. Okay, in Victoria, where I'm from, which is West Coast Canada, the average family home now costs 750,000 Canadian dollars. Yes, you heard me correct. 750,000 Canadian dollars for an average family home in Victoria. Vancouver is even more. It's closer to 1 million. Okay, so what does it actually mean, the high cost of housing? So Naveen says more expensive designs. Naveen, you're still in the qualitative. You need to be in quantitative. Okay, so you want to think of quantitative here. So an average house costs $215,000. Good, Manisha. Okay, so you're giving me some numbers. And it doesn't matter if that's true for every part of the world. This is in your essay, okay? So average housing cost in a major city is 250,000 US dollars. Okay, average incomes cannot pay for this price. Okay, so that would be a definition of high cost of housing. All right, why has this happened? Sure. So why has this happened? Why have houses become so expensive? Okay, and of course, by answering this question, it will help you to think about solutions. So when you have a causes and effects or causes and solutions type essay, then you will realize that this why question for the causes will help you to come up with answers to solutions. Ed Nilsson, improving your English to live in Canada is a great goal, and I'm here to help you with that. Just do know that housing is pretty expensive now in Canada, in most parts anyway. Some parts it's a little bit cheaper, but in many parts, especially big cities, it's a lot. Wages are not bad, so of course people make pretty good money in Canada as well, but to pay for $1 million home is still quite tricky. Okay, so Manisha says one of the reasons is there's an increasing number of people on our planet. Yeah, so increasing number of people on the planet. Okay. Is there any other reason? So there's a lot of people, high demand, right? That means there's a high demand for housing. Sure. Okay. So that's a very good why. Now, can you think of another why? Okay. Is there any other reason why the cost of housing has increased so much other than the increased number of people? Manisha says, well, the interiors and exteriors have become more expensive. I don't know about that, Manisha. I would almost argue that houses in the past had higher quality materials often and took longer to build, so they were actually better quality in many cases in the interior and exterior than these days. These days we often build homes that are fairly cheap. So Naveen says the rise of construction materials and costs. Yeah, or maybe some of you might agree with me on this, the inflation of money. So simply money has become less valuable, and so a lot of products and services in the world have become more expensive. So inflation of money, therefore increased cost relative to wages. Okay, I would say that's probably one of the other big reasons. Okay, so there's two reasons. How did this happen? Many births, less deaths. Okay, so these are the simple ones, and too much money being produced by governments. Okay, so that would be the other one. All right, now, okay, so there we have the what, why, how. Now you need to think about the solutions, what, why, how. Okay, so solutions. Okay, so now that we thought about the what, why, how for the causes, so what is the high cost of housing? Average housing cost is $250,000 US in a major city. Average incomes cannot pay for this price. Why has this happened? There's a lot of people on the earth, high demand for houses, inflation of money, money's not worth as much, and people don't make a lot of money compared to the cost of goods. How did this happen? A lot of people were born, not many people died, and there's a lot of money being printed by governments. Okay, sure. So that's clear so far. Now, we need to think of solutions. And when we think of solutions, think about this. Okay? So how can we solve the demand on housing? Okay, so what are the solutions? And here, the way that you can think about it quickly is the first problem is there's a lot of demand and not enough houses. So high demand for housing, okay, that's one. And then two, low wages relative to house cost. Okay, so it doesn't have to be a perfect solution, ladies and gentlemen. You don't actually have to solve the problems of the world, just some solution that you feel you can argue in the essay to get a high IELTS band score. So let's see what you come up with for solutions, Manisha and Naveen. Okay, what do you think would be a way to solve the high demand for housing? Okay, so how can we fix that? Okay, give me something creative. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect, it should just work. Definitely don't say something silly like there has to be a war or something like that. I don't know if people would agree with that. So Naveen says maybe constructing buildings in less urbanized areas. So decentralizing cities. Sure, that's a very clever idea, Naveen, and a lot of people will agree with you on that. Okay, so decentralizing cities. Building in rural areas. Very clever. Okay, that is a smart option, Naveen. Absolutely. So we don't all need to live in the center of a city, and there are a lot of options in technology through computers, self-driving vehicles in the future where this will actually become much more of a reality. Living outside of this city will be much more realistic and comfortable. Okay, how about low wages? So low wages relative to housing costs. How can we fix that one? So how can we fix the problem of not making enough money to buy a house? What can we do about that? That one I think you can keep fairly simple. So Naveen says they could provide incentives to people who are unable to pay for housing. Yeah, I think you have something interesting there, Naveen. What kind of incentives? So what would be a good incentive to help this situation? I think one of the easiest solutions would be simply to increase the wages of people. Okay, so that could be one. Give better loans for middle class. Sure. And governments are doing this. So as I mentioned to you, in Canada, the house prices have really gone up, especially in Vancouver, Victoria. And we have a special type of loan called a first home buyer's loan, which helps people who don't have a house and are first home buyers to buy a house. So, for example, a first home buyer loan, okay, with special interest rates. Very good. Okay, so now you're ready to write your thesis, okay? You have the right ideas, you have some good solutions, now you're ready to write a thesis. Let me just get you back on screen here, turn the camera back on. Decided to go to sleep for a moment. Okay, and the thesis here should be direct. Okay, don't say I will write about the causes and solutions to this problem and then start writing, okay? A really big mistake that many students will make on IELTS in this situation or for this question is they will just start writing their essay. They'll say the cost of houses has soared in many cities around the world in the past couple decades. A lot of people cannot pay for their homes, and this has become a big problem. This essay will discuss the causes and solutions. And then they stop. This is the formula that they learned from their teacher, from their IELTS book. But there's absolutely zero thinking when you do this. Okay, there's no thinking. So Naveen, Manisha, you have to realize that there's no thinking in this kind of essay writing. And when a student does that, they get stuck. Okay, first body paragraph, okay, what do I write? What's the cause? What's the solution? And they have no idea what to write. So you need a much better introduction, and that is emphasized by a good thesis statement at the end. Okay, so you need to write a good thesis. The thesis uses the why questions. Okay, so the primary cause of extreme housing costs are increased demand and decreased wages. Okay. However, nevertheless, there are solutions to this problem, solutions to these challenges, such as decentralization, of cities, and increase of wages. Okay, so this would be a Band 9 thesis statement here. That shows very, very clearly the direction of your essay. Okay, so Naveen, this is the example. Now notice, okay, don't forget the original question. So the original question, it's a cause and effect, or sorry, cause and solution. I keep saying that. Cause and solution type essay. And that cause and solution type essay says, present a written essay as you would to a professor in a university class. So because it says that, Naveen, notice that here in my response, in my thesis, I don't say in my opinion or I believe. I just simply keep it third person voice. Okay, is that clear? So there's no me or my or in my opinion. It's just third person voice. The primary cause of extreme housing costs are increased demand and decreased wages. Nevertheless, there are solutions to these challenges, such as decentralization of cities and increase of pay or salaries. So I'm not repeating the same word here. Okay, so that's my thesis. Yes, Naveen, that could work as a solution, absolutely, to answer your previous question. Okay. So Naveen, you're saying the causes which are relevant to the increased prices are raised demand coupled with lower wages for the civilians. That's good. Okay, so that's your first part of your thesis. And then the second part of your thesis is the solutions. So now we can write an effective introductory paragraph. Okay, and in the introduction, we start with our hook. The hook is important. You shouldn't skip over it. Doesn't matter what somebody else tells you. Every good movie has a hook. There's a explosion in the beginning, or something strange happens, or something sad happens, or something funny happens that gets you interested in the movie. A good essay, even an IELTS Task 2 essay, should have a hook that gets you focused on the topic and makes it interesting for your reader to continue reading. And it can be simple. So your hook can be something like this. All people dream of one day owning their own house. Okay, just because I don't like to use owning and own. All right, so all people dream of one day owning their house or owning a house. Okay, so that is a good enough hook. Okay, simple, no mistakes. Naveen, that's a very good hook as well. Housing is a basic necessity for mankind. Absolutely, that's a very nice hook also. Housing is a basic necessity for mankind. All right, and then the background information. So definitions and importance. Okay. So these days, a large part of the global population is concerned about the inaffordability of housing. Okay, inaffordability, I believe, unaffordability of housing. Often, the average cost of a family home in a major city is close to $250,000 US. This cannot be paid for by middle class wages. Okay? So that would be the background. And then, Naveen, I can use your hook for the importance, right? So housing, however, is a basic need of mankind. All right? So that is the importance of the question. We need to talk about it because food, shelter, those are the basic needs for humans. So it's a big challenge, it's a big problem when there's conflict to achieve those needs or those necessities, okay? All right. And then comes the thesis. Now the thesis we can just copy and paste. In the official IELTS, what you can do is you can write the thesis about 5-6 lines below the beginning of your essay and then fill in the hook and the background information before your thesis statement. Now, you definitely want to practice that at home to make sure that you can do that effectively, okay? So this is our introduction for this essay. Notice there's no you, there's no us, there's no we, there's no my, there's no I, because it is a third-person voice essay, all right? So let's read the introduction, make sure it's good, and then we can figure out what to do for body 1, body 2, and the conclusion. So all people dream of one day owning a house. These days, a large part of the global population is concerned about the unaffordability of housing. The average cost of a family home in a major city is close to $250,000 US. This cannot be paid for by middle-class wages. Housing, however, is a basic need of mankind. The primary cause of extreme housing costs are increased demand and decreased wages. Nevertheless, there are solutions to these challenges, such as decentralization of cities and increase of salaries. Okay, Naveen, what do you think I should do for body paragraph 1 now? Now that I have a good introductory paragraph, and with this introductory paragraph, I can quickly finish the essay and get a high IELTS band score. What can I do? What should I say, or what should I write in my body paragraph 1? So what should I talk about there? Okay, what do you think? No. In this case, I wouldn't narrate the causes first and then followed by the solutions. Well, let me say it this way, Naveen. In body paragraph 1, I would definitely write about one of the causes and one of the solutions first. Which cause, which solution should I write about first? What do you think? I'm not sure if you're still in there, Manisha, or if we have any of the other members jumping in. So what do you think? What should we do? No, Naveen, no. It's more simple than that, okay? That would be confusing. So here, what I would write about first is just keep it simple, okay? I'm using some nice vocabulary here and some complex sentences, but the ideas are simple. So increased demand is one of the causes, and decentralization of cities is the solution. So this would be my body paragraph number 1. Okay? The easiest way to do it is write about this and then this for body paragraph 1, because the cause and the solution they're directly connected here. They're directly related, okay? And then clearly decreased wages and increase of salaries would be my body paragraph number 2. That would be the most logical, sensible way to structure this essay, okay? So let's get into body paragraph 1. So body paragraph 1 starts with a topic sentence, all right? So let's start it off with a topic sentence. So this is going to be about demand and decentralization. Okay. And body paragraph should always start with a topic. The topic sentence is simply a deeper definition or paraphrase of point 1. Okay, so that's all that you need to do. Okay, so write a deeper definition of point 1. So here we're talking about increased demand of housing. And then we're talking about the decentralization of cities. So in the past generation, or over the past 50 years, you can write 30 years, the population of the world has more than doubled to nearly 8 billion citizens, and most of them are seeking homes in cities. Okay, so that would be a Band 9 topic sentence to continue this essay. Over the past 30 years, or you can say 3 decades, the population of the world has more than doubled to nearly 8 billion citizens, and most of them are seeking homes in cities. This has led to the rapid increase of urban real estate, which only the wealthy can now afford. Okay, so there I'm talking about the cause of the increase of this housing problem, okay, or this housing situation, and I'm explaining it. Okay, so this sentence here is the explanation. And Naveen, I think you're clear about these parts. Now comes the example. So what kind of an example can I put in here? What would be good for a Band 9, Naveen? Can you give me an example? And meanwhile, read your previous sentence. So you said the ever-growing population from the last few decades has subsequently led to a significant increase in the cost of land and housing. Yeah, I wouldn't say construction of land, Naveen. That's a little bit weird. We don't construct land. We construct on land. We buy land, right? The earth has constructed the land for us. So, but otherwise, that's a good topic sentence. You're very, very close to mine. What would be a good example here, Naveen? I'll wait for an example from you instead of rushing on. Okay, I'm sure you'll come up with something smart here. Make sure it's visible, measurable. Give me something specific that I can relate to, right? Especially because it's so subjective. Now again, here is where you need to remember for the example that this is a third person essay, not a first person. So you don't want to give an example like my friend or I bought a house or my uncle paid this much for his house, because that's first person voice. You never, ever, ever switch voices in an essay. That can become very confusing for your reader. So here we want to stay in third person voice. Okay, so staying with third person voice throughout the whole essay. Okay, so forget I, forget me, forget my, and especially you or yours. Don't use those words. Okay. Ed Nelson, good to see a comment back. I'm happy you're still with us. Don't be shy. Write some sentences. It's okay if it's not perfect. It's okay if the English is more simple. We all start somewhere. I speak 2 other languages as well, and I started at 0, so I appreciate the challenges, especially of IELTS. So Naveen says, in India, due to the rise of population to almost 150 million, the cost of construction has also raised. Naveen, that's more of an explanation, okay, than an example. So I think you're still more closer to an explanation. An example would be something like this, okay? For instance, a 3-bedroom family home in New Delhi cost around, let's say 10,000, let's say 5,000. I don't know, I'm just making it up here. 5,000 US dollars in the 80s. But now, the same home would sell for closer to 50,000 US dollars. Okay, 10 times as expensive. All right, so that would be a specific example. Okay. Hey, Jeffrey, now we have even more members jumping in, interestingly, in this part of the essay. All right, Jeffrey, take the capital of Taiwan, Taipei. An example, an apartment measured 4 by 4 meters costs more than 200 US dollars, 200,000 US dollars. That's okay, Jeffrey. Better late than never. Again, I'm sure a lot of you can think about examples. Remember to think of the relative difference. So, family home in New Delhi used to cost around 5,000 US dollars, but now, as the population has doubled, to 20 million, 15 million. I'm not sure how many citizens New Delhi has, but as to 15 million, the same home would sell for closer to 50,000 US dollars, 10 times as expensive, okay? So that would be a specific example to the explanation, okay? When you're thinking specific examples, Naveen, really try to think about one case, okay? A case study, okay? I'll put that up there. So think about a case study where I can actually go, aha, look, it's that house on the corner right there, okay? Okay, so as specific as possible. Okay, think of case study. All right, and then we jump back and give the solution. So what's the solution? Decentralization. Okay, so as the world moves forward, a very feasible solution to this challenge is moving people away from cities into more rural areas. Okay? So that would be the solution coming up. All right? And then it's the same thing. So it's kind of like another topic sentence. It's kind of like two small body paragraphs squeezed together. All right? So here, what's the solution? Get people out of the city, get them into more rural areas where land is cheap. Okay? So as technology and transport improves, people can lead much more convenient and comfortable lives in the countryside. Convenient and cheaper is what I wanted to say. For instance, a 3-bedroom home in rural India sells for just 2,000 US dollars. Okay, so connecting, hi Rekha, so connecting back to that previous example. When you're doing causes and solutions, keep in mind that when you give the example for the problem, like here, where we gave the example that a house is 50,000 US dollars today, then connect your example from the solution to the example from the problem. Okay, so a couple of members have just jumped in. I'm going to jump back then to the original question. Hopefully you read it in the stream description. And then we'll look at the introduction and body paragraph 1. So this question was sent earlier in the week by Naveen. It was a very good question. She said, what do we do if we have a causes and solutions essay where it says you should write it as if you're writing an essay for a professor in a university class? So the important point here to all of our viewers, again, is when you have this kind of a question, write an essay as if you're writing to a professor. This will be for academic, task 2. It has to be third-person voice. You would never write a first-person voice essay, or very rarely a first-person voice essay to a professor in a university. So this is trying to give a hint that they want a third-person essay, okay? Now, causes and solutions, think about what, why, how for causes, then for the solutions. The original question is, many people complain that the cost of housing has become extremely high and unaffordable in many parts of the world. What are the causes of this extreme housing market? What are solutions to make housing affordable for middle-class citizens? Okay. And then we did all of our critical thinking, our paraphrasing, our planning, and we came up with this thesis here, which will be in the introduction as well. So this is what we have for the introduction. All people dream of one day owning a house. These days, a large part of the global population is concerned about the unaffordability of housing. The average cost of a family home in a major city is close to $250,000 US dollars. This cannot be paid for by middle-class wages. Housing, however, is a basic need of mankind. The primary cause of extreme housing costs are increased demand and decreased wages. Nevertheless, there are solutions to these challenges, such as decentralization of cities and increase of salaries. Body paragraph 1. Over the past 30 years, the population of the world has more than doubled to nearly 8 billion citizens, and most of them are seeking homes in cities. This has led to the rapid increase of urban real estate, which only the wealthy can now afford. For instance, a 3-bedroom family home in New Delhi costs around $5,000 in the 80s, but now as the population has doubled to 15 million, the same home would sell for closer to 50,000 US, 10 times as expensive. As the world moves forward, a very feasible solution to this challenge is moving people away from cities into more rural areas where land is cheap. As technology and transport improves, people can lead much more convenient and cheaper lives in the countryside. For instance, a 3-bedroom home in rural India sells for just $2,000 US. Okay? So that is your body paragraph 1. Does that make sense, Naveen, Rekha, Vegan, Jedi, Jeffrey? Does that make sense, what we've done so far? And again, keep things in mind. Third-person voice, and here the cause and the solution are directly related, so you should have one body paragraph with one cause and solution, and the next body paragraph with the other cause and solution. Good. Thank you for confirming, Jeffrey. Naveen, this was your question, so I'm definitely waiting for you to let me know that this is clear indeed for you as well. Good. Okay. So then, for homework members, this is, of course, another one of your benefits for being a member. Finish this essay with body paragraph 2 for homework and the conclusion as well, okay? Good, Rekha. So now that you understand it, finish body paragraph 2, finish the conclusion, send it to me. I'll take a look at it, and then I will send you a score estimate. I'll take a look, Naveen. To be more specific, as mentioned above, the prices in New Delhi soared 10 times. Constructing homes around the vicinity could be more cheaper if the homes are outside of Delhi. Okay. Yes, you could, but so yes, I see your question, Naveen. Is connecting to the previous example a good idea? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you can connect your examples, that's a good idea. Ed Nilsson, thank you so much for becoming a member. Make sure to send me an email so I can send you the website information and the login information for your 6 full IELTS exams, practice exams with all the audio, okay? Also, I can give you access to the exclusive video lists, okay, for the members. So send me an email and I'll hook you up with those goodies for being a member. Thank you so much, members, for participating. And don't worry about jumping in late, Jeffrey and Rekha. Late is okay, all right? This is a live stream. You attend when you can. Have an awesome rest of your day. Have a wonderful next couple days. I'll see all of you on I will see all of you on Wednesday, okay? Ed Nilsson, send me an email, not your email address, but send me an email. So send me an email here, adrian@aehelp.com, and then I can reply, okay? All right, much love to all of you. Have a great rest of your evening. Have a wonderful night, good sleep. If it's late in your country. Bye-bye.